Welcome to another episode of Marketing School. I'm Eric Siu.
And I'm Neil Patel.
And Neil's tired. And today we are going to talk about how Amazon sellers may go out of business if they don't do this. So let me give you a little context. I was speaking at an e-commerce conference, and I spoke at an e-commerce conference actually a couple years ago. And what was interesting, even a couple years ago, 2-3 years ago, everyone was talking about Amazon. Amazon is like this gold mine, right? Amazon is this, Amazon is that. Like making so much money on Amazon. You do Amazon, you're gonna build 7-figure, 8-figure, 9-figure business. Like more power to you, right? That's good. Now the thing is, and I'm still realizing the same thing here. I spoke at this conference. There is a lot of, when it comes to Amazon, I see a lot of kind of short-termism, right? It's like, you know, we're making the most of this gold mine right now. It's kind of like the gold rush with SEO in the early days. It's very easy to kind of manipulate Google. Everyone's doing really well. And the thing with this is when you build on top of Amazon, you do not control the customers and you do not control your destiny, because if they decide to ban you the next day, you're done. Okay, you're done. So all the talk around Neil mentioning and myself also talking about building a brand, building something sustainable, building a business, that plays into this, and that was basically what my talk centered around. So that is the context around this. Neil, what are your thoughts around this in general?
Yeah, it's you and I know this. Marketing has moved to omni-channel approach, in which you can't just leverage Google ads or SEO, or you can't just leverage even Amazon ads. They're a big contender. They're probably going to be the number 3 player in the marketplace after Google and Facebook.
They are.
That's true.
Yeah.
You can't rely on one of these channels. You have to use multiple channels. So if you're trying to go for that gold rush on Amazon, yeah, try to do it and make sure you create a good product. A lot of people these days, I'm seeing them creating like crappy products just to make a quick buck, and it doesn't last. You need to create a good product. That's a given. But the big thing that Eric and I are trying to push on is what you're getting from Amazon right now will not last. Yes, Amazon's growing and it's going to become a bigger company. But as it becomes bigger and there's more volume, it's also going to become more competitive. More larger corporations are going to come in there, burn a ton of money and try to wipe you out. For that reason, you yourself have to diversify, from creating your own email list to creating your own website to running your own ads on Facebook and sending them maybe to your Shopify store. Whatever it may be, is if you rely on Amazon, you can do really well for a long period of time, but one little thing can crush you.
All the concepts that we're talking around, I mean, that we've spoken about in this podcast going over 2 years now, applies here. You're trying to build a site. You're trying to build. Actually, Neil wrote a blog post about how a blog is not just a blog; it is a business. Right? What was the title again?
That's actually the title.
There you go. So, point being is this: you got to build omni-channel approach. You got to build yourself a media company. Because remember, I talked about this a couple times. Bill Gates said in the 90s that every successful company is going to become a media company. And that's what you got to do. Because if you're just trying to put this money in, 5x ROAS, 8x ROAS, like great, right? But take some of that money, reinvest it into the long term. And if you're crazy like Neil or even myself, maybe dump all that money back in so you can have this really sustainable machine for the long term. So, you know, in the case that an advertising platform bans you or Amazon bans you, I'm not saying like you're very bannable, but it's at their whim, right? And the other thing I'll say is this. Company Away Luggage, okay? So they make, you know, cool luggage, and they became a media company. They started writing about these different types of topics. But what most people don't know is if you search for Away Luggage on Amazon, Amazon owns the ads, and what does Amazon do? Amazon Basics, right? And so they're occupying that now. They have the data, they own it, they know what to do, and they can do whatever they want. They're Amazon.
Yeah. In addition to that, as an Amazon seller, you know, I'm not one, but I have a good friend who is. You'll find that other people, like other shady marketers, are gonna screw up your revenue. So I have a friend, his name is Jared. He has a site called Skincare by Elena. They sell their own cosmetic stuff. Can do $100,000 a month from Amazon, no problem, like the back of his hand. But every once in a while, at least once a year, that revenue goes to zero. And if you had to guess why, Eric, why would you think that revenue goes to zero?
Because they have, let's see, it gets really competitive. Maybe they managed to get them banned.
That's right. One of their competitors will report them or create a ton of accounts and flag them and get them banned. Seriously, it happens at least once a year to them. Happens to a lot of people that I know who are legitimate non-marketers just creating amazing products. But you know what? When that happens to Jared, he gets upset and it sucks. But he doesn't stop his business because he has his own website. His website generates more revenue than what he does from Amazon. And that's because he's diversified. And that's what you need to do. You can't rely on one channel.
Actually, that's really interesting. So at that conference, most people, their revenue, like let's say 70-80% plus comes from Amazon, right? And I was talking to my friend, his business, his site, they do about $7 to $8 million a year. And I was like, hey, I'm at this conference right now. Can you tell me how much of your business comes from Amazon? He's like, we only like 25 grand a month. Okay, so that's 300K a year. So that's almost nothing compared to everything that he's getting from his website. So key thing is take the concepts that you get from this podcast and then apply them into building a site. And if you're doing really well already, let's say you're doing over 7 figures, take 20% of that, reinvest it. And then build a website, build something for the long term, build your email list, right? And then if you like doing videos, do videos. If you like doing podcasts, do podcasts. That way you have something defensible. And I'll tell you what, your valuation of your business is probably going to be higher.
Yep. That's it from mine.
Cool. So that is it for today. Oh, by the way, for whatever reason, we've had people, some people reaching out to us for corporate trading too. Tweet at me at Eric Siu. That's with the O in the middle. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, because we do a lot of this content. But beside that, we are going to do a live event in downtown Los Angeles. We're going to record it as well. There's going to be food. It's going to be great. Neil and I are going to be there. It's going to be all day. The only caveat is we need your help. Rate, review, subscribe to this podcast. We are currently at about run rate for about 850,000 downloads a month. We want to get to 1 million. So once we get to 1 million over a 30-day period, we are going to do that live event, and we hope to see you all there. It's going to be great. Food, Neil and I. What more can you ask for? Great LA weather. We'll see you there.